Okay, so in this video I'm just going to show you how to set up a very simple blueprint to control some rigs. So we're going to rig and animate something in 3ds Max, just a simple crane, and then we're going to have a little scene like this. We've got a little control panel here, this is our crane here. What we're going to do is pick this ball up and just move it and put it down somewhere else. So what I can do is, if I move up to my control panel, I can pick the object up and I can then move my crane. So I'm just using the 1, 2, 3 and 4 keys to do this. I can move the crane back if I want, move it forward again, and then I can just put this down over here. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so first of all we're going to make our crane, which is just going to be some simple boxes. Just make sure that my units are set up correctly, so I'm in metric and 1 unit equals 1 centimetre. So let's make a box, let's make our crane, let's make it about 3 meters high. Let's just go 0.25 and 0.25. Fine. Okay, so let's move that to 0 in the world, and then let's make the arm like that, and then make a little handle at the end. So let's just scale that down. That can just be the bit that we pick stuff up by. Okay, so let's convert that to an editable poly. So right click, editable poly, and let's attach all this together. So now we've just got one object. Let's give it a name, crane. And now we need to make a rig. So I'm going to go to create and to helpers, and I'm going to use a cat rig. So I'm going to cat objects, make a cat parent, put that at 0, 0, 0 as well. And then we need to go to our modify panel and we need to create a pelvis for this. So that's going to sit right at the base of our crane. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a arm, because this is quite similar to an arm. So let's do add arm. Let's click on our arm. We don't need a collarbone and we don't need a hand, we've just got 2 bits of our arm. So 2 bones like that. Let's just position them. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to just select this and press Alt and X to go into X-ray mode so that I can see what I'm doing. And we're just trying to position the arm the same as our crane. So that looks good. And the most important thing with any rig is that your pivot is in the correct place. So I think this just wants to come back a tiny little bit to there. And I think that'll do. So I might just make these a bit wider as well, just so they stick out and make them easier to select, like that. Okay, so let's select our the actual 3D model, so this green crane that we've made, and what we need to do is we need to put a skin modifier on it. Then we're going to click, we're going to add our bones, so we're going to click on bones, we're going to hit add. Oh, that's not good. Okay, let me just pause this and restart Max. Okay, so let's go into our skin modifier and hit add bones, and we want to add all of these 3 bones. Then what we need to do is just weight our skin modifier to the bones that we've got. So to do that, we need to go edit envelopes, and what I want to do is I want to select this bone here, so this first the first part that goes up vertically, and I want to select vertices and select element, and I want to select all of this element that matches up with that, and then just weight it all the way to 1, so it should turn red. I can then do Control I to invert my selection, select this bone, and then weight all of that. So now this part of the model is weighted to this bone, this part of the model is weighted to this bone. So this is very simple. If you were creating a character, then this would get more complicated because you'd have to sort of merge between the weighting of the 2 things. But that doesn't matter for us. So let's come out of our skin modifier. Now we need to select our cat rig, and we need to go to the motion panel here, and we need to turn, at the moment it's in record mode, so it's in the mode for building the rig. What we want to do is put it into a mode where we can use animation. So we need to add an animation layer, so we'll just click add layer, and click this one that says ABS, so an absolute layer, and then we need to click this little record button here, and I'll go to play mode, and now we can animate. So I should be able to now select my rig, and as I move my rig, my model, crane model, moves with it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to create 3 animations. In fact, maybe 4 animations. So I want 1 animation to pick an object up. I want another animation to rotate to a new place, and I want another animation to put it down, and then maybe one more animation to rotate back to the beginning. So essentially it's going to kind of pick it up, something like this, and then it's going to rotate round, something like this, then it's going to put it down, and that'll be it. Okay, so to make an animation, let's go to, let's say let's just go all the way to frame 100, and we'll turn on auto key, and now I can just auto key this stuff. So I'm going to bend forward a bit, let's just bend forward like that, and pick something up here. And in fact, what I might do is I might select these 2 bones and then move that keyframe to frame 50, and then I'll select the keyframe that's at the start and hold shift and drag it to the end. Oh, I think I missed that one. Let's move that to frame 50, move that to the end. Okay, so now it should go back and forth like that. So that'll be our pickup animation. Now let's go right click on this play icon and let's go to, let's just add a load more frames. So let's say our end time is, I think we want 400. And then I'm going to go to frame 200. And I'm going to spin this around. So just make sure you're turning the rig and not turning the actual model. So make sure you've not got this model selected, but you've got this rig selected. Then we'll put our thing down, so let's go to frame 250. In fact, what we'll do is on frame 200, let's just make sure that we select this bone as well and just add a key there. Okay, then we'll go to frame 250 and we'll put our object down. Like this, and then we'll copy the frame that was on 200 to frame 300. So now we've got put down rather. So we pick up, remove, and we put it down. And finally, let's just take the very first frame, copy it all the way to the end. So we need this bone as well. And then that'll move back to the original position. Okay, so all we need to do now is to export our, we've got two things to export. We need to export our skeletal mesh, which is this model here that's got the skin modifier on it. That's our skeletal mesh. So that's the thing that has the skeleton in it. It's going to use this skin modifier to take these bones, and it's going to export these bones with the model. So once we've done that, we'll take the actual bones, and when we export those, they will be our animations. So let's just save that. And with our model selected, with the skin modifier on, let's just take auto key off. Let's go to File, Export, Export Selected, and let's export it in here. So this is going to be our crane skeleton. So crane underscore skell. You can call it whatever you like. Don't worry about this error. It's just a warning. It doesn't matter. Okay, what we need to do is set up our frames in the right place now. So let's just right click on the play down here and go from 0 to 100. And we want to select the bones in our model, so you should see the keyframes in there. Now we're going to do File, Export, Export Selected, and this is going to be our crane, anim, pick up. Again, ignore the warning. Right, then we're going to export our next animation, so that's between 100 and 200, and this one's going to be crane anim move say move forward. $200 to $300. So anim put down, and finally move back. Okay, so I'll leave this video here, and we will start up Unreal 4 and come back. Okay, so we're in Unreal 4 now, and we need to import our stuff. So I'm just going to create a new folder for this. Crane stuff. And then we're just going to right click and import. And what I want to do is, first of all, I want to import the crane skeleton just on its own, so that crane underscore skell. We want to import it as a skeleton, that's important. We don't really need the materials or the textures. Let's just do import. Right, now we want, what I'm actually going to do is make a new folder in here. I'm going to call it crane anims, just to try and keep this a bit cleaner. Import, I'm going to import all of these animations. And what we need to do when we import this is select skeleton to be this crane skeleton that we've done. Now we'll just do import all, and we should be able to click on one of these and you can see it's playing the animation. Okay, so that's our animations inside Unreal 4. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a crane that we can control, a crane that can pick something up and we can control it from a control panel. So to do that, we're going to need two blueprints. We're going to need a blueprint for the crane, and we're going to need a blueprint for the control panel. So let's create both those. Let's right click in here and let's do a new blueprint class. It's going to be an actor, and this is going to be called crane BP. Let's right click again, blueprint class actor control panel BP. Let's open our crane, and I need my crane in here, so let's drag in my crane. And what we're going to do is we'll have a bit more logic in here in a bit, but for now we are just going to go to the event graph. Let's get rid of all this stuff and let's create some custom events. So add a custom event, we'll call this pickup. And make another one, move forward. Move back. And put down. So we're going to trigger these events from our control panel. So at the moment all these events need to do is we just need to take our crane and play an animation. So when we pick up, we're going to play the pick up animation. Just space these out a bit more. When we move forward, we're going to do the move forward animation. And this one's going to be move back, and this one's going to be put down. Okay, so that's pretty simple. That's it for now for our crane. Most of the work is going to be in our control panel. So let's open up our control panel. And let's just set up a few things. So first of all, let's make a control panel, which can just be a what do I want? A cube. Yeah, let's make a cube. I'm just going to angle this slightly backwards so that it kind of looks like a. This is like the surface of the control panel where the buttons are going to be. Obviously you guys could make a mesh for this in 3ds Max that would be much better than just this box, but I'm going to put on a text render as well, and this text render I'm going to put some instructions in it. So I'm going to say press number 1 to pick up, press number 2 to put down, press number 3 to move forward, and press number 4 to move back. And let's make the text different colour. Let's just kind of move it. So we'll be able to see what we're doing in. If I drag this into my viewport, I can kind of see what's going on a bit better. Make that a bit smaller. So I'm just doing this on the other screen in the blueprint. Okay, so that's our control panel. I mean, all of that is just visual, none of this is actually going to do anything. Let's start to set up our logic now. So what we'll do for now, let's get rid of these begin overlaps. Just to kind of test this is working, first of all we need to, at the moment we're not going to be, if I press 1 or 2 or 3, none of those buttons are going to do anything. I need to enable my input, so I need to get my player controller, which is player index 0, we've only got one player so that'll be the right one. And let's enable input on that. Okay, so now I can press buttons, and this will be listening out for me pressing buttons. Okay, so in order to communicate with the crane, I need to tell it which specific crane I'm going to communicate with, because there could be lots of different cranes in this. In here, we could sort of drag one in here, we could have another one. This needs to know which of these two cranes is it controlling. So we'll just put the crane in as a variable. So let's add a new variable called crane to control, and that doesn't want to be a boolean, it wants to be a crane. So that's crane BP. We also want to make this public, and what that will do is if I bring in my crane, let's bring in like 3 different cranes actually to demonstrate this. I can now tell it here in my Details tab which crane it is that this control panel is going to control. So I'm going to control that crane there. So I just got the picker and did that crane. I'll get rid of these other cranes as well. Okay, so back in here now, right click. When we press number 1, we want it to, what is it we want it to do? We want it to pick up. So let's take our crane to control and let's do that custom event, pick up. So that's the custom event. That's now firing off this custom event. So it's just going to play that animation. Let's compile that and let's give it a go. So at the moment it doesn't matter where I am, I should be able to press 1 and, oh sorry, I've just seen a mistake in my blueprint. That should be plugged into player controller there. So it's ourself, it's at this control panel we want to enable the input on, and we want to get the input from the player controller. Okay, so when I press 1 now, it doesn't matter where I am, the crane should pick up like that. So let's just set up the rest of these. Press 2, 3, 4. That's going to, I think that was put down. Number 3 was move forward. And number 4 must have been move back. Okay, so this does kind of work now. I can press number 1, it does that. Number 2 does that. Number 3 moves that way. Number 4 it moves that way. So what we need to do now is fix a load of the problems with this. So first of all, at the moment it doesn't matter where I am, I can control this control panel. So what I'm going to do is make it so that I can only use these buttons when I'm standing in front of it. So to do that, let's go to our viewport. Let's add a let's just add a box collision. This, and I'm just kind of setting this for where I want the player to be. So something like that will do, just in front of the control panel. Compile. And what I'll do is I'll add a begin overlap. So now, instead of enabling the input straight away, what I'll do is when we overlap it, I'll cast it to the first person character, so that just, if this cast succeeds, this cast will only be able to succeed if the thing that's overlapped it is the first person character. So if I enable the input out of there, then when something overlaps, basically saying if the thing that's overlapping it is the first person character, so us, then enable the input. Otherwise it'll go out this cast failed, so it'll just do nothing. So let's do the opposite of that. Let's do an end overlap. Cast to first person character, so we want to check that the thing that's moved out of it is the first person character. Then we will just disable, if I can spell, disable the input. There. Okay, let's test that. So if I press the buttons now, nothing should happen. I'm pressing them. When I move into this zone here, I should be able to do stuff. When I move back out, I can't again. So that's much better. Okay, so another bug to fix would be, at the moment I can keep on making these animations play in all kind of strange orders. What I want to do is, I just want to disable the input until the animation's finished. So an easy way of doing this is going to be, let's just add a delay. So what we'll do is we'll get the player controller, we'll disable the input on it, and we'll do that straight away when we come out of any of these. And then we'll just wait a little bit. So I think these animations are, they're 100 frames, I think they're at 30 frames a second, so they are just over 3 seconds. Let's just say, let's wait 3.5 seconds and then turn it back on. Okay, so now I can pick up, but I'm pressing the button again and it won't let me press it again for a little while. And let's just have a look. Oh, I've got done the same thing again. So I've just got enable input hooked up to the target rather than the first person player. Just do a save, play. So pick up, and I can't pick up again until about 3 seconds, and then I can. Okay, so there's going to be another bug with this, I think, which is going to be, let me just move these a bit to the side. Okay. Okay, so the bug we're going to have now, it's only a small thing. What's going to happen is let me just move this so we can see. So if I move into here, press the button, then move out of it, I'm now going to be able to press the button from anywhere and it's going to work, because what it's doing is so I'm moving in to the overlap zone and enabling the input, then I'm pressing the button which disables the input, then I move out of the overlap box and disable the input again, it's already disabled, and then what happens is the timer finishes running and I enable the input. So even though I'm outside, I'm enabling the input again. So I'm just going to have to do a little check for that, which we'll just do with a variable. Just make a boolean. I'll just call this in range. And then we'll just say when you enable the input here on the overlap, you're in range, and then when you move out, you're not in range. So that one's ticked to say yes, we're in range. This one's unticked to say no, we're not in range. And then we will just put a little check here. So let's just do a branch, and let's just say if you're in range, enable the input again. So now what's going to happen is when I move out of the zone, I'm going to set this boolean to untrue, and then here we're going to see that the boolean's not true, and rather than enabling the input again, we're just going to do nothing. test that. So press my button, move back out, and my input is still disabled until I go back in. So now, no matter what I do, I can only press things when I'm in range. And I also can't fire them off. Oh, well done, that didn't work. I don't know what happened there. I did seem to... Oh no, in fact, sorry, it's just because I'm firing off animations in the wrong order, so I'm just moving it forward. Or rather moving it back straight away, so it just looks a bit odd. We could do some more checks with that. I'm not going to bother with that, to be honest, but we could set a boolean here when we pick up in fact, let's just do it quickly. So I think there's only one thing we need to check. We just need a boolean to say, are we forward or back? In fact, that's probably a bit of a confusing way to name it. Let's just say, are we forward? Are we forward? We're not by default, so when we press number 2, then we're forward. And when we press number 4, we're back again. Now we just need some little checks. We can only do, so we can only move we can only pick up if we're back. And we can only move forward oh sorry, that's put down. I've done those wrong. So if we move forward, then we are forward. If we move back, then we're not forward. Sorry, back. We can only pick up if we're back. We can only put down if we're forward. We can only move forward if we're back, and we can only move back if we're forward. It's quite confusing, but I think that should work. So what should happen now is when I play this, I shouldn't be able to hit either 2 to put down or 4. They won't do anything because I'm not in the right position. So what I have to do is hit 1 first to pick up. Okay, so yeah, our crane now works. I can't do anything that I'm not supposed to do. The only things I can do are things that I'd want to do. So none of these other buttons will work until they're supposed to, so I can move it forward now. I can't do anything until it's moved forward, and then I can't pick anything up again because I'm on the wrong side. but I can move it back and put stuff down. To be honest, this would be better off actually just having the pick up and put down as one button and then just check which state you're in. In fact, it's probably better just having two buttons, one that's pick up and put down and the other one that's move backwards and forwards. But anyway, we've done it like this now. Let's leave it. Okay, so all that's left to do is, let's just move our control panel somewhere else. So we can see what we're doing. It's control after crane. All that's left to do now is to actually pick something up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to we need to attach a socket to our crane. So we want to click on the crane skeleton, not the blueprint, the actual skeleton. If we go to skeleton, we can see our skeleton, you can see the different bones that we've got in it here. And we want to attach a socket to this, and then we can attach something to a socket. It's a little bit odd, but there is a reason for it. All we need to do, is really easy to do, is this cat rig L-arm 2 that we want to attach to. You can see it's this one, because I can move it about in there. And we just want to right click and do add socket. And let's call this, let's just call it crane socket. We're only going to have one. Just be careful naming this because you're going to have to type this in a bit. And let's move the socket to where we want it, so at the end here. Save that. Okay, so all that's left is to make this pick something up. Let's create something first of all for it to pick up. So let's make a new blueprint class, actor. Let's call this crane pickup. Let's come into here, and what I'm going to do is add just a sphere, I think. And I'm going to make that sphere the root, and I'm going to turn on simulate physics in this as well, so that it's like a sort of physics sphere that moves about. Okay, so I'm in my crane animation now. Sorry, not crane animation, the crane blueprint. So not in the control panel blueprint, we've done that. I'm in the actual crane blueprint. And what I'm going to do is I want to check when something collides with the end of this. So I'm just going to create a little collision sphere like this, and I'm going to move it to the end there. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that this sphere moves with the socket that we just put on the end of here. So I'm going to do that in my construction script. I'm just going to attach it. So I'm doing it in my construction script so that it's attached all the time. Before we even start playing the game, it just immediately attaches to that. So all we need to do is attach, and we're attaching this sphere to this crane skeleton, and the socket name, we called it crane socket. And let's just do keep world position as well. Okay, so that should be moving together. Now in my event graph, I'm going to say with my sphere, when I overlap, if the thing that I overlap with is that crane pickup, then let's attach let's attach that crane pickup to the same thing again. Let's attach it to that socket. So let's attach it to crane socket. Weld position. Attach. Right, so let's just test that out. So what I need to do is I need to get one of these crane pickups, and I need to put it somewhere that the end of that crane is going to reach down for. I think that'll do. So let's do pickup. I might have just missed it. Let's move it there. There we go. Okay. So what I'll do is once I've picked it up, I will just take this sphere and I'll just turn off the simulate physics to make things easier. So when we overlap, we check whether it's the thing that we want to pick up. If it is, we attach it and then we turn the simulate physics off. And we're turning it off on the thing that we've picked up. Test that. Pick up. Okay, so now I can move it. And then when we put it down, what we really need to do now actually is when we put this down, let's just set simulate physics here. I think that'll do it. So simulate physics should be true. So after we do the put down event, let's simulate physics, see what happens. Pick up. Move. And put down. Okay, so I just need to also detach. So instead of attach to, let's do detach. In fact, let's come out there and do detach. And we want it to maintain its world position. Let's see what happens there. Pick up. Move. Put down. Okay, so we could just, what we could do is we could just have a little delay here. Delay. Oops. I think that wants to be about 1.5 seconds, and then we'll detach. Compile. Pick up. Let's move it. So we should be able to move back as well and keep hold of it. So we can move it backwards and forwards, and we can put it down. And so let's just swap them around. Pick up, move forward, put down. There we go. Okay, so there's loads of things we could clean up with this, and loads of things we could improve to make this a bit more fully fledged, but for now that'll do. The main thing is just showing you how to fire off animations, how to bring rigs in, and how to connect some blueprints and get them talking to each other.